So in the previous section, we have learned how to install Collect and how to start Collect and how to get to the survey designer. Now in this section, we will see how to create a new Collect Earth survey. There are three options when you create a survey. You can create a completely new Collect Earth survey without any special extra data. You can create a Collect Earth survey with that already comes filled with the IPCC land use change and forestry attributes that we have used in several countries. Or you can also import a ready-made Collect Earth survey. Say that you have a survey on whatever topic that you really like for one country and you want to do it in another area, and you just need to edit a few attributes. So instead of creating a new survey and doing manually, you can just import that other survey and create a copy and then edit it. In this case, now we are going to see how to create a new Collect Earth survey and add our own attributes to it. So here we had to click on the icon new, the button new, and now comes up a dialog where we had to set a name for the survey. The name has to be in lowercase and without spaces. So for instance, I can call it demo underscore Collect Earth survey, Collect Earth tutorial. Now we had to choose the default survey language. This is important because the default survey language cannot be changed later on. In Collect, you can define that a survey comes in several languages. Say that you are making a survey in a country where they speak several languages, as in Spain, so you can want to have it in Spanish and in Catalan and in Basque. So here you will say maybe that the default survey language will be Spanish, but later on you could also add the other languages to the survey. You can have up to 5 languages in one survey. This doesn't mean that the interface for Collect will change. It means that you will be able to later distribute your survey and generate localizations for each of the languages for the survey. Okay, so now we are going to create, we have now 4 options here. To create a blank survey, but this blank survey should only be used for Collect or Collect Mobile surveys. Then we have a biophysical survey. This is just like a template that a user can choose if you are going to make a biophysical survey for data collection on the ground. And then we have 2 other options: to generate a Collect Earth or a Collect Earth plus IPCC software, IPCC survey. In this case, we are just going to use the Collect Earth survey. The Collect Earth plus IPCC will contain not only the default Collect Earth attributes, but also attributes that will be necessary if you want to do a land use change and forestry survey. Okay, so we choose Collect Earth. We chose English. We click OK. And now this will take us to the survey designer for this survey that we are editing. First thing you need to do is to give a name to your project. Here you see between parentheses you see the language that you are editing. Here you might choose to add, in this case, the Collect Earth survey by default it comes in English, Spanish, and French. Okay, so in Spanish, you see when I choose Spanish, this changes, and it means that I can have a different name for the survey in Spanish than in English. So for instance, if in English I call it demo survey for tutorial, I could go here to Spanish and say encuesta de demostración para el tutorial. So this you can do for every single label that you create in Collect Earth. you can choose to set the labels in English or Spanish. In this case, I'm going to remove French because I don't speak French. So I take off French. Still, the default language is English. Okay, remove. So, or right now we are only going to use it in English for demonstration purposes. So you give it a name, you can give it a description, like this is the survey that was created for demonstration tutorial. Okay, here you could write whatever you want. Then form version, spatial reference systems, and units is nothing you need to think about right now. So you can leave it as it is. Not only just for you, good to know that you can use versioning on the survey. So we could say that this survey version is version 1. So we could just have here a version 1. So the first version B1, we call it version 1, and the first version before testing. And we say that this first version is from the 22nd of March. Apply. Next, we have here several attributes that are specific to collect Earth surveys, which will be the plot layout. This means what type of design do you want on your plot when Google Earth loads the sampling design. So we have a few options here. You can change this later on as well. So this is a few of the options that you could use. For instance, you want to have a quarter hectare plot or a half a hectare or 1 hectare. So let's say that we just choose a half a hectare plot because I'm going to do a survey in which half a hectare is good enough. And also I can choose what is the layout, how does it look, the plot. Do I want an empty square, so just a half a hectare square? Do I want a central point, means that I have one half a hectare square with one central red dot in the middle? Or do I want to use 3 by 3, 5 by 5, or 7 by 7, which means that inside the plot there will be 9, 25, or 49 dots. These dots we can later use for counting land cover, or for assessing land cover. Then you need a big maps key. If you want to use big maps in Collect Earth, you will need to generate your own key. In order to generate your own key, you need to access, you need to go to the big maps portal and sign in and generate your big maps key. This is explained in the support forum, and you can copy the API key from the Bing Maps portal and then put it here. Okay, that's if you want to use Bing Maps. Here we have the options of what ancillary data or windows we want to use. So we have the option to open Bing Maps, to open Google Earth Engine Explorer, to open the Google Earth Engine Code Editor, and open Street View. In this case, I only want to use the Google Earth Engine Explorer and Google Earth Engine Code Editor. Okay, I save this. And then I go to the schema. And in the schema, this is where you can actually set the structure of the data that will be stored on the database. As you see, there is already a tab here called plot, and inside the tab we have these attributes that are used by default by all Collect Earth surveys. So do not remove, well, you can remove elevation and slope and aspect because those are not default attributes, although we use them in most of the surveys. But the rest, ID, location, operator, actively save on, and plot file, those are attributes that are necessary for your Collect Earth survey. So don't remove them, don't change their names. Okay, so now we are going to make a test survey, and this test survey will just be a land cover survey, a very simple land cover survey, where we want to record the land use, or more than land cover land use, we're going to do a land use and land use subcategory or subdivision. So we want to know if a plot is forest, settlement, cropland, or grassland, or other land, and if it's forest or settlement or grassland, what type of forest, settlement, or grassland. Okay, so for doing this, we are going to right-click on plot. Oh, I should say first that the way to add attributes to the survey is to right-click. So you right-click and you go to add attribute, and here you see the different type of attributes you can add. So the Boolean, the code, the date, number, text, and time. So well, let's review this. In Boolean, it will just be a yes/no attribute. Code will be an attribute that uses a code list, meaning that you can always only choose a set of values, not any value you want, but just one value from the code list. A date, a number, which could be an integer or real, a text, which could be a short text or a long text. Say you want to have a comment on your survey, and a time. So let's say that first thing we want to collect is the type of land use. So we click on code, and we are going to add this code that we call land use. Here it's important to know that this name will be the name in the database of the attribute. So it cannot have uppercase or spaces. But what we will show the user in the form is this label. As you remember, now this will be the label in English, and if we change to Spanish, sorry. If we change to Spanish, okay, let's fix the server first. First, we choose the code list. We say this is a code attribute. So a code attribute uses a code list. It means what values can you choose. So in the case of land use, we say that we need a code list. So here, by clicking on this button, we go directly to the code list window. So we don't have any code list. We have to create a code list. And in this case, we are going to create a code list where we have land uses. As I said before, we want to collect. You have two options when it comes to a code list. You can create a flat code list or a hierarchical code list. A flat code list means that you only have one level of choices, and hierarchical code list means that you can create a tree of choices. So for instance, you could have a first level. So if we say that we have land use, we can create a hierarchical code list where we have a land use, a first level called category, and then we can add a second level called subcategory. Okay, and now in the category we can have the main land use categories. So let's say that is forest. This is all in English. This should be later translated to Spanish if you want to have it in Spanish. Forest, cropland, cropland, grass, other land, wetland, and settlement. Okay, so now we have the land uses, the main land uses, but we want to have in our survey both a main land use and a subcategory. So if I click in forest now, I can add subcategories of forest. So for instance, I can just choose very coarse ones. So for forest, I can say that we have natural and plantation. So natural, Control apply and plantation. And for cropland, I can say that I have just also like permanent, and I don't know where annual. I mean, it's just a test, so it doesn't really matter. Annual for grassland, maybe I can just have grassland. We don't have any differentiation of grassland, so all grassland is just grassland. For other land, we can have bearland and I don't know, glaciers. You can add as many as you want. There is no limit. You can have 50 subcategories if you want. So for wetland, we can have rivers and lakes. You always use these green buttons to add and the red ones to remove. You can double click on an item and you can edit it. You can have a tooltip as well. This tooltip will be shown on the form. So if I want to specify something here, like in natural I want to say natural forest are those that blah blah blah. Okay, this is just for testing. And plantations, I can say plantations of eucalyptus, pines, and acacias. Okay. This is something I will demonstrate later how this tooltip works. So bear with me. So here in river we can add also lake, and finance settlement. So we could have infrastructure, and build up. Okay, so I apply, and now the land uses the land uses code list. Right now, the parent code here, since this is the first code item that we have, it doesn't have a parent. We will see this parent attribute later. You can also make things relevant or not relevant depending on the values of other attributes. We will also see that later. And anyway, we can have the label here in English for the attribute. If I do a fast preview now, you can always use this preview button. First I need to save and I preview. So since we only have now land use, this is how the interface for Collect Earth will look. So you will be only able to choose the main land use. Okay. But now we want to add the land use subcategory too. So now we go back to plot and we add an attribute and we click on code. So this is another code attribute. Now we are going to call subcategory. And we say that it uses the same code at least than before. But now you will notice what is the change. The change is that the subcategory is not using the land uses code list directly. The subcategory has a parent. The parent of the subcategory is the land use. So the forest, the cropland, the settlement, and so on, that will be the parent. So it means that in the hierarchical level, now we are in the subcategory level. We are not in the category, we are in the subcategory. Okay. This gets filled by default with the same text than here. So now we can save. And if we preview again, sadly the preview doesn't work properly in Collect when it doesn't have the same validation engine and the same possibilities than when you use Collect Earth, so it's not really working 100%. But we will see later in Collect Earth how it works. Okay, now we want to add something else here. So let's say that if we choose um, that the forest is a plantation, we want to see the year of the last clear cut on the plantation. So here now we can add a new attribute called the year. As a number attribute, we want to record the year that the plantation was last harvested. So we can call this attribute last harvest, and we can say that this is a type integer. You have two types of numbers, integer or real numbers. In this case, it's a year, so it's an integer type of number. It's called last harvest. And now we say that this is only relevant. So this field should only appear on our survey if the subcategory, so the previous subcategory that we have chosen, is equal to plantation or plantation. I have to check what did I write, plantation or plantation. Here I can see the code list. So in forest, is called plantation. The code, not the name, not the label, but the code is plantation. So I can go here and say, yes, this last harvest is only relevant when we have chosen that this is a plantation. Okay, save. And if, for instance, if we choose that the land use is a forest in general or a natural from plantation, we can choose if there is a disturbance or not. So for instance, we are going to add a new boolean, also just to demonstrate that the type of attributes that we have, a new boolean attribute that is called disturbance. And it's a boolean attribute that is only relevant for natural plantations. So if subcategory is equal to natural, subcategory equals to natural, then we want to record the disturbance. So we save this, and now this will only disturbance in plot, we may call it. So now see that the label is different from the name. The name, again, the name is what you will have in the database, and the label is what you will see on the interface. So now we have the disturbance. This is a disturbance on the plot. And finally, if there is a disturbance on the plot, we want to know what type of disturbance. So here we can say there is a new attribute that is a code attribute, and we can call this disturbance type, and we want to use a code list. This is a code attribute because it will only allow us to create to pick a specific value. It doesn't allow you to pick any value, just the values from the code list. So in this case, we make a new, by clicking on this green button, we make a new code list, and we call it disturbances or disturbance types. Disturbance types. Disturbance types. And now we are just going to have a flat. This is not going to be a hierarchical code list because we don't have multiple levels, it's just one level. So we're just going to have very simpler one. So we have login as disturbance, login, fire, what could we have? Grazing. Apply. So now we have these disturbance types. Okay, apply. And we have a code that is using the disturbance types that is called disturbance type. Maybe we can just call it disturbance. And we also here say that this is a drop downs, just to demonstrate in the code list you have different options to have a text box or a drop down. Okay, and we also say that this disturbance is only relevant when we have previously said that this was a natural forest and there was a disturbance. So this is the expression here that we will use, disturbance. Disturbance is a Boolean attribute, so just by using the name of the attribute, it will be true or false. Okay, finally, just to demonstrate, it says I have an error. Sorry, disturbance type. Okay, because there was already a name, disturbance. So it tells you that the attribute cannot have, this attribute cannot have the same name than the previous attribute. Okay, and finally, we are going to add a comment. So if you want to comment something about the plot that you are assessing, so we add a, as you saw, we added an attribute of type text. We call it comment. And here you have two choices, to have a short or a long text field. Short will be just a few like 50 characters or so, and long means that you have a comment box, like a text area or a text box. So we say this is a memo, and we say this is always relevant and always required. If we say that this is always relevant but it's not required, so it means that it will always be shown to you in the form, but you don't need to fill it. If you don't have any comment, you don't need to put anything there. So we save this, and this is fine. I think this is enough. We can do a preview here, although it won't show everything we have added. Here you can see the difference between the type of code layouts. You have you have this text box layout, which is just buttons, or you have this drop down layout. Okay, but as you see, the relevance attributes or the relevance properties that we have set do not work here. So we close this and we save, and I think I'm happy with this with the survey. So I go back to the list. This is something we will go into later, how to export surveys and how to use the CP files by just our testing. I will do it now. So I see what's the latest on my survey. So it's called this one, Demo Survey for Tutorial. I click on it, I click on export, and now in the export we have several options. We are going to use the default option, which is collect earth, which is generate a collect earth project file. It also lets you generate the survey in different languages. So now we have English and Spanish, but since I have set all my labels in English, I should choose English. Then later on we can come back and review the Spanish translations and fix that. But right now we are just going to use English. And I click on export. And you see that now I am downloaded this survey demo collect earth tutorial. That's the name of the survey. N will be English, will be the language that is used. And it also gives you the exact time and date that it was exported. I save this file. Now it has gone to my downloads. I click on it. And if you have collect earth installed, it will just by clicking on the CEP file that was produced, it should start collect earth. In this case, it's starting now. You see also here in the icon, this is the icon of the file, and it already comes with this collect earth type of icon. So what happens now is that collect earth has started. The first thing this is the first time you use collect earth, this operator field will be empty. You will need to put your operator name. This is the way that we have for following who is doing what on the database or on the data, or who has been filling information. So you should have your name. My name is Alfonso, so I put that, and then I update. And here you see already that the name of the window is Collect Earth Demo Survey for Tutorial. And here, if I click, if I deploy this, you see that I have my survey demo collect earth tutorial testplots.cd is the file that contains the plots with the locations of the plots, and these are 15 dummy plot locations. This is just used for testing. So then this is something you will have to do later also to define your sampling design. Okay, in this case you just go to the first one. This is just a plot in Papua New Guinea. You see that now the design of the plot is what we said before, which one is half a hectare. We can check here. So half a hectare should be 70 by 70 meters. So yes, this is 70 meters. Okay, this is the ruler feature for Google Earth. And there are 49 dots and one dot in the middle, the red one. Okay, if I click on the plot, then I start by having to fill. We also defined before that we wanted to have the Google Earth and the Google Earth Engine code editor and the Google Earth Engine Explorer windows. So both of them have open. If you wanted to open also big maps, then you will have to also check in the first of the tabs for the Cyber Designer. You will have to set here also open big maps, or if you don't want to open these two, but just unclick them. Okay, so you see that I have the plot in Google Earth Engine Explorer. Now this is loading the script for Google Earth Engine Code Editor, and in Google Earth I have the form as it was designed. First I need to set a land use, so let's say that this was forest. Then I have to set a land use subcategory, then say that this was natural, and since it's natural, and we set this boolean attribute saying that if it's natural, I want to know if there is a disturbance or not. So I can say, for instance, yes, and then I say yes. If I say no, nothing will appear. If I say yes, then I had to set the disturbance type. Okay, this is just a test again, so I just say grazing, for instance. And I can have a comment here. I can say, this is my first plot assessed. Alright, if you have noticed here on the left, all of the icons were red before on this panel, but now I have started filling data for the first plot, so the icon has changed to yellowish. Okay, if I now click on send, now it says the data was saved. So the plot data has been sent to the database, or not have been sent to the database because it was always on the database. This, as soon as you open a plot, the information that you are filling on the plot is saved on the database, but now we have like the confirmation that all the data was complete and validated. It says that the data was saved. This icon turns green, and if I click OK, automatically it moves to the next plot. If I click here again, sometimes this happens. If that happens, you just click outside of the plot and click again. And now I want to show the other options. As I said before, when I choose forest, there was natural and plantation. If I choose cropland, we have permanent and annual. If I choose grassland, you have grassland, other land, settlement, river. Also the tooltips that we added. You remember we added a tooltip for the code list items. So here, if I put my mouse over the natural, you see that the tooltip I wrote is there. Natural forest are those that blah blah blah. Plantation, so it's not properly written, eucalyptus, pines and acacias. Anyway, you could write whatever you want there. And again, if I write now that this is a plantation, I should put here when was the last year of harvest. The last year of harvest is something that is done, should be done if this was really a plantation. Then we could use the Google Earth Engine and Google Earth Engine Code Editor to find out the last year of harvest. In reality, the plot that we are recording now is not in a forest, but inside a palm oil plantation in Papua New Guinea. You can see here these layers that we have, that this will be a layer for 2000, and this is the most recent a layer done by combining Landsat 8 imagery from the last 6 months that it has also been pan-sharpened. So you can clearly see that this is not anymore the forest, but something else. I can also show you here the different layers that are loaded. We have a layer for 2004, 2008, 2012, and as well as different charts. Okay, but now we are learning how to make surveys, so maybe we don't have to go into that. So now you have noticed how it has changed. If this was actually a plantation and we could find the last year of harvest, we could put here 2008. Ah, but wait, I could put the wrong data here. I could put 2085, and this is not correct. No, you couldn't have a harvest in 2085. No, so I can go back to the collect earth and say that, sorry, to the collect survey designer, back to the schema. Okay, I'm still on the demo collector tutorial, and I can say for the last harvest attribute, I want to have a validation check. So the validation check is here on the validation rules. I can have a comparison type of check. This is also something we will look into more later. But just to make it clear, we could have an error comparison if we say the last harvest should be between 19, well, actually in 2000, because 2000 will be the first year that Landsat can see harvest, for say between 2000 and 2016. So here we see that the last harvest value should be between the year 2000, so smaller than or equal than 2000, and smaller than or equal or bigger than or equal than 2000, or smaller than or equal than 2016. Apply. And we save. And now we can do the same thing again, which is to export again the survey. Do it again, export again, export as collect earth in English, and save the file. And finally, this is the second file that I have downloaded. Click on it. Now it will refresh collect earth, and it will refresh the survey design on collect earth. And now if I try to put the same data than before and put here now, if I say that this was a forest, a plantation, and I try to put 2085, oh, I made a mistake with the warning, but it says last harvest. The last harvest will be between 2000 and 2016. So if I put 2000, this is red because it means that this is not valid the data. And if I try to send the data, it will tell me that the same error, that this is not correct. This data you cannot send this like this way. So I will have to put 2005, for instance. And now if I move on, I see that it changes from red to black, means that it's valid. If I send, tells me that the data was saved, and it moves on to the next. Okay, so this is I think a good start for the first creation of a survey. I will leave this survey also on the YouTube comments, so you can look at it. But anyway, it's not a very well made survey, but it's just a way to start.